Well, welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank Podcast. I'm here with Mr. Simon Roy.
Hello, Robbie. How's it going?
You have two first names, dude.
Yeah, so in the States, but actually in Quebec, my first name is like the first is one of the top three most common names in the province.
So you're
So
from Canada.
Yeah. So people think my first name is Roy and think my last name is Simon, and they get confused. But
I like Simon Roy. It's professional. It sounds like a business executive.
Thanks. Yeah, it's got like a few syllables. It can be catchy.
You don't have to spend a lot of time writing it. My teachers used to torment me when I would get in trouble. They would make me write my first and my last name out, and it's Robbie Robertson. So doing that 100, 200, 300 times, at the end you get that pencil indent on like the middle of your middle finger or something where you're like, I can't use my hand for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So
no, for detentions it was fine. I didn't get into too many, but for the occasional one, Simon Roy, but then they add more times because then they know that your name is shorter, so then they'll just add a bit more.
Mine, they were like, oh, you like doing that? I'm just like, no, this is painful. They're like, why don't you add your middle name in there? And I'm like, well, I don't know how to spell my middle name, so boom.
Imagine people with like 4 or 5 middle names, then that's even more tricky.
I had a guest, I called him T throughout the podcast. He's a good dude, but his name was like 20 syllables long. I couldn't pronounce it. I felt so bad, but I'm like, man, imagine trying to write something that is like 50 letters long, like 10 states included. Like that's Mississippi, Arkansas, Canada, United States, Junior. It's like, holy crap, you have a long name, sir.
I think it's people who have trouble choosing, and then they end up trying to stack up. Oh, okay, this name has a bit of emotional value because it was this great uncle. And then you just stack them up, and it just never stops going.
Mine, I'm just going to name them after the 4 Ninja Turtles because, I mean, with the true deep down desire, which is probably what you want to talk about, it's pizza, man. It's that slice, dude. It's that warm taste in the mouth, depending on where you're getting it from. I know you don't have Little Caesars there, which I'm that's a good thing. You haven't been ruined yet. But what exactly do you do?
Yeah, so I've got my Instagram blog where I do, my name is Dr. Neapolitan because I'm a physician by training, but for fun, like I'm slinging pizzas, feeding friends. Right now during COVID, I'm feeding pizzas to my friends who are working, on the COVID ICU, all that stuff. So I don't do delivery yet. I just do delivery kind of more for friends and more for me practicing the craft, trying to always improve my pizzas, improve the dough, the crust, the sauce, everything.
How'd you exactly get started into making pizza? Like, did it just one day you were like, I'm bored, I want to go off Amazon and order me some dough and see where I go from there?
Yeah, so that's what's funny is I think once you get start into pizza, and even the first one you make is generally always even leagues ahead of like store-bought dough or store-bought pizza. So even my first one, which I actually have pictures of, and looks kind of a bit all crooked, the dough didn't really rise that much, it was still better than what it usually had, just because it was quality ingredients, well-sourced ingredients. And it was actually for Valentine's Day, like 2 years ago. So I thought, I'm going to make, a cute little heart-shaped pizza for my girlfriend. Then going to put some mozzarella bufala, like buffalo cow milk, then make it all fancy. And that got me started from there. And I think what changed the game too was that I was used to looking up like recipes where you just make the dough the same day, a 2-hour, 3-hour rise. But then you never get a nice puffy crust. You never get any complexity of flavor. So then that's when the game really started, is trying to improve the dough, then learning different styles. I do Detroit style. I do the Sicilian, which is a bit like Detroit, do New York. And of course, with my name there, Dr. Neapolitan, I mostly do Neapolitans, only when it's nice outside. And here in Canada, that means like 6 months a year. I can cook with the outdoor oven.
Do you prefer to make that pizza over all the others? And if so, why? Like, why especially that type of pizza? Because like, I think you can tell a lot by Pizzaiolo, I would call them, just from talking with Mike, just from talking from Scott and talking with Edgar. You can kind of tell that every way they've kind of shaped to craft out their pizzas has been a little bit based on what they're interested in. Like I know Edgar,
Yeah.
he's a thin crust guy. I can't handle thin
Yeah.
crust. I need to have a nice thick crust. But I think much that you've probably experienced if you go to a pizza shop or you've eaten a pizza somewhere
Yeah.
is they have that fake crust. And when I mean that fake crust, I mean that one where you bite into the crust and it's nothing but air. Like it's just like you could stick your whole fingers all in there. Like where's the actual
Right.
inside texture to it? I'm like, that's fake crust to me, man. When you have that false crust, I approach it with this sense of confidence, like it's gonna be a nice fucking slice, and then you bite into it, and you're like nothing but air. You're like, I've been lied to. My life is a lie. Santa Claus isn't real. Where am I? Like it's that whole thing.
Yeah, so true. But you know, with the fake crust thing, what I think is, because there's two variants. There's like, you can have a really nice fluffy crust that's full of air, but it's because of like long fermentation. It's because of using a pre-ferment, which is like kind of part of dough that you made before, and you incorporated that into other dough. So that really gives complexity of flavor. But if probably what you're talking about is that it's just like kind of empty inside and not much, or it's kind of very stringy. And but if you've had like nice puffy, like very airy, that's kind of thin, so you even end up eating more dough just because it's enjoyable and you don't feel it heavy as much. And one also rule of thumb that I kind of do is that I'm more of a hybrid. So, you know, Edgar that was on the show he really likes his classics. Then Mike, who you had on the show, Pizza in the Sack, he's a bit more adventurous. He's trying out these wild things.
My
Me,
Chick-fil-A pizza.
yeah. I mean, like, yeah, thinking outside the box. Like he did the Corona pizza where he had this toilet paper roll pizza. It was like the cheese would kind of just curled around itself. But yeah, for myself, I'm more of a hybrid. Like I haven't chosen one dedicated style. I still like doing different styles. And I find that the important thing is once you get to on a thin crust, you never want to stack it full of ingredients. Like the amount of toppings has to be consistent with the thickness of the crust. So thicker crust can usually, like a Sicilian or Detroit, can support the weight of a bit more toppings, you know? So that's kind of a good rule of thumb to follow, is that you don't want the like super ultra toppings on a very thin New York or thin Neapolitan, which is the bad experience a lot of people have had.
Well,
It's
I think
just
it's the
stacked
same
upon
thing
stacks.
Edgar brought up. The best part was the fact is that you can get a pizza that has so many toppings into one. It's like a combination of flavors that is
Yeah.
I guess oversensitive to your taste buds, I would say. Like it feels like somebody's just shoving a million different things into your mouth. You're like, I just want to focus on a simple basic taste. And
Yeah.
I think that's what we get a lot of the times. Like if you want, like, I don't know how influenced you are or how much you've experienced when it comes to pizza chain restaurants. The reason why I don't like Little Caesars is it's a hot and ready style joint. It's like if you take a fridge pizza or you take something out of a frozen dinner aisle and then you try to reheat it and sell it like it was professional pizza. It's not
Mhm.
at all. It tastes like cardboard. I don't care if my grandpa hears this and gets mad at me for it.
Yeah.
It tastes like shit, grandpa. I'm sorry. But it's cheap, it's easy to pick up. It's why it's called hot and ready. But it just tastes like
Mhm.
plastic to me. And then like my all-time favorite's Domino's, and that's only because they learned oregano on the crust. And I think that is a huge factor because well, like we were saying
Mhm.
before with the styles of pizza making, also depending on what the person likes to eat. Do they like pineapple on their
Yeah.
pizza? For some reason, that's a big problem with a lot of people. I don't think pineapple should be on my pizza. I'm like, if it fucking tastes good, eat it. You
It's
know?
a eternal debate.
Yeah.
Eternal debate, that one.
But when you're eating a slice, like this food has been brought over from a whole nother place, brought over to the States, and then popularly sold here, manufactured here. I mean, any spot in my town you walk to, any place that has a little bit of tourism, there is a pizza joint. It's a comfort food. It's an emotional food. That's why any meme you see, there's like a pizza slice and you're crying, but you're eating a pizza slice or something, is because it's that emotional food. It's like ice cream. And I think what really goes into it is what do you typically prefer? So if I was going to ask you, what do you want to get from a pizza place or what do you want out of a pizza? What are you looking for? Like the details. How do I find this Dr.
Yeah.
Neapolitan style that I've heard so much about?
Yeah, that's a good question, because honestly, so here in Montreal there aren't that many pizza options, and the ones that are, it's either like all entirely Neapolitan, and there's not like, to my knowledge, I think I'm the only one doing Detroit pizza. Well, there's maybe a few like others, amateurs like me, who are doing it for fun, but there's no like chain, or there's no independent pizza store making them. So sometimes I've been developing styles just because they aren't available here. But I find for me, if they have a wood fired oven inside, and I can just kind of, and you can have a look at them. You can see that they're, turning the pizzas. They seem to be rolling out the dough well, not rolling out, but, spreading the dough well with their hands. There's some clues you can have, versus if the whole kitchen is kind of hidden behind in the back, don't really know what's going on. Well, there's chances that, it's not very artisanal, or it's not really a craft.
Yeah, I look at I think I prefer that though when it comes to if I was making the pizza, only because I'm very, very picky about like being watched while I cook. I like to focus
Uh,
100% into what I'm doing. But
yeah,
I mean honestly, if you go to a pizza place, you want to see that stuff happen in front of you. I have a local
yeah,
joint called Mioni's, and they classify themselves as like a full-on Italian restaurant. So like they're sitting there tossing dough in the back,
yeah,
doing crazy type things, watching you. Like I always say that's probably the best form of therapy, just getting able to beat the shit out of this dough thing, take all
yeah,
your problems out into it. But it's important because I mean, as people, you're seeing now we're all being very health conscious. Even though we enjoy pizza, everything's turning vegan movements, turning into all these different things. I
yeah,
know Scott was talking about working with a seafood pizza, trying to find ways to incorporate that on there, a little bit of healthier options and stuff too.
mm,
But I always give Mike crap because he always likes to make a dessert pizza, and I think that's not
yeah,
really pizza when you turn it into a bit of an ice cream. But I mean, to each
yeah,
is their own, like we say, based on what your preferences are. I think when you came across Mike's live video of him doing the Chick-fil-A pizza, you saw some people that were commenting like, "This is crazy. This is not going to work. This is," and I think that's a lot of what really kind of hurts the industry or hurts the craft a little bit, is the fact
yeah,
that we got to be creative with these things too. Obviously, not putting a whole box of Fruity Pebbles on top of a pizza, but finding different combinations of meats and different types of cheeses and finding different styles to create it, make it unique and interesting. Because I think we all have a specific moment in our life when we're kids sitting down and enjoying a slice.
yeah. No, it's really tough, because even the chain stores are trying to make their things more artisanal looking. So then they'll try to say, Domino's is saying, "Oh, their dough is hand tossed," or this or that. But you know, no, that's a good one.
When it comes to a specific memory that you have, what's one that you really sticks out into your head? Like something as a kid, maybe when you come across pizza slice, you're like, "This is amazing. I want to keep eating this." Like we all got those. Something sticks in your head whenever you're rolling out that dough and you're creating your
Uh-huh.
pizzas for Instagram. It could be even as an adult
Yeah,
now, maybe a few months ago.
yeah, yeah.
You got something that sticks in your head that always brings you back to that moment.
So yeah, you just made me think of one actually. So I was doing a month. I lived for a month in New Haven in Connecticut, and there I think I ate the most pizzas I've ever ate in my life. Like I was trying out all the places. And New Haven is renowned for their particular style, which is like in New York, but it's made in these coal-fired ovens. So and they char it a bit. So it's a bit more charred than usual. So it's a bit kind of thin and crispy. And super huge pies. They put even clams on those. And it's super close to New York too. So I got to organize a pizza tour to Brooklyn and Manhattan a bit. I just asked my pizza friends, the pizza community, okay, I want to try to be able to walk to all the places or take the subway and hit maybe. So I did six spots in 6 hours. And at the end of the day, I just couldn't eat another slice, but I was just so happy coming on the ride back home.
I mean, it's the best drunk food I also look at too. I mean, some of the best experience I've had is with pizza, not even being drunk, but being a kid, like your parents leaving you $20. And this is where my issue with Uber comes in, is because back in the day, your parents left you a menu or something on the table. They said, "This is the pizza joint. You're going to order whatever you want. Here's $20. Go nuts." Okay. You spent that $20 on the first day. So the next day you were like scavenging for like coins in the couch or something. But I remember I always talk about Uber Eats being terrible because it gives you like this food delivery, these Grubhub places, these food taxis. They let you pick from anywhere. You can go and get a slice from Pizza Hut, then roll over down to McDonald's and grab a cheeseburger. The next thing you know, you got 5 different orders from 5 different places for you and your friends. Back in the day, it was like you gather up your friends, you do the tribal whatever conch call, and everybody comes
Yeah,
downstairs like, "What are we doing? What are we ordering?" And I would be like, all right, let's order Domino's. Next, we're getting a couple pizzas or
Yeah.
something. My buddy's like, do they have fish sticks? I'm like, it's a pizza place. They're not having fish
Yeah.
sticks. Shut. What do
Yeah.
you?
You learn to be less picky. Yeah, it's definitely a good lesson as a kid. You're not like, versus now, if you can, everybody now that I think that's one of the issues with the industry is that I think the chain stores are even thinking that that's what customers want is like ultra 110% customizable things versus restaurants that will be like, here's a kind of package of toppings that we know works very well together. Why don't you try it out? Or like, here are some different combinations you can try out and have some kind of preset options instead of the just customize whatever. It'll taste like cardboard. The flavors won't really mesh well together.
It's like trying to put when you put your candy into like a drink or something, like a water, and then you sit there and let it sit there forever, and then you think it's gonna taste like candy water, but it's nothing like you expected at all.
Never try that.
Well, I tried it. I was an idiot, trust
Yeah.
me. But when it comes to Papa John's, like I think when they first decided to do online delivery, like you could order your pizza online for like the
Yeah.
first month, they didn't have an option that told you this is too many toppings or something. So people were
Uh,
ordering everything on there, and like eventually the pizzas were just like, this is way too much and it's not good when it gets there. It's not very I mean, I think the main thing that causes us to eat something also is appearance factor. You want it to look edible. I think that's one of the etiquette that a lot of these establishments try and do. I've been to places where I've gotten a slice and I've watched my buddy's mom grab a napkin and put it on top of the pizza and just press her hand down and soak up all this grease that she lifted off this napkin and put it off to the side. She goes, now you can
yeah.
eat it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to anymore.
The classic grease blot.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue too, because I mean, you probably experienced it. I mean, if you're delivering pizzas to like people that are, dealing with this COVID situation, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
big thing. You're going to see a big spark in a lot of you guys, a lot of these Pizzaiolo people that are trying to help out the community, trying to get them a sense of food, and you got to put a lot of craft and care into your stuff. I mean, like you were saying, with the amount of, I guess, free mobility on whatever you can choose from. That creates a giant issue because eventually people are like, I want my pizza shaped like Batman. I want my pizza shaped like
Yeah.
this. And like, what are we playing God now? Like, we can't just do this with everything. We got to understand
Yeah.
that there's rules and expectations to go by.
Yeah. To let the artisans kind of make suggestions, and then learn from that.
What would you say would be the biggest problem that you faced, at least doing this pizza adventure?
That's a good one. I think it's trying to come up with new stuff or trying to be a bit inventive, especially for the Instagram feed. Trying to always take good shots and not, sometimes in a mode of just like, okay, this one's just for myself. I don't care what it'll look like. And others, then I'm like, oh, well, I should actually maybe save a photo instead just for my blog, just in case I end up needing it. So I think that's the fine line of juggling like fun versus then a bit when the hobby becomes a bit of work, or you feel like, oh, I got to put out some new content, some more new content, versus being like, okay, that's fine. Small pizza community, people know that people get busy and it's expectations of constant content or maybe not there, even though you think they're there.
Do you ever feel like it becomes a little bit of a task, or you have some days where you're just like, I can't craft out a pizza today. I'm just not in the mindset for it.
What's nice about the pizza making though is that you can kind of compartmentalize it. So let's say it's a day that I'm not feeling like in the mood to bake a pie, because that involves more cleanup generally, but I might be in the mood to make dough or to make pizza sauce, to cook my sauce. So that way I can kind of mix it up. And also with when you start doing cold proofing, so when you start letting your dough slowly ferment in the fridge for an extended period of time, can be up to like 5 days, gets a bit more flavor, but it also gives you flexibility of like, okay, today I'm not feeling it. In 2 days, the dough might be even better. Okay, it'll be in 2 days. So I've got a bit of flexibility with that. I've almost always have dough ready in the fridge.
Do you try and at least look up any more information or try and go to a few sites, maybe review some pizza slices? I mean, when you're making it all the time, it seems like you probably have this vast amount of information in your head that's like, this pizza needs this added to it. This pizza should have been cooked a little bit longer. This
Yeah,
pizza, like for me, I wouldn't
agreed.
have any of that taste because the only thing I've ever made that comes to a pizza is a freaking Lunchable, and that didn't turn out well at all.
A Lunchable was that?
You don't know what a Lunchable is?
Nope.
Dude, all right. So they're like little snack things for kids. They come in a container. It's got like the little pizza circular like crust things like this.
Oh my God.
And they have like pepperonis you can add to it, your own little cheese and a little pizza sauce in a
Oh
packet. You can make
God.
your own little like some kindergarten stuff. But you know what? I'll eat it now. It's a good
Okay.
thing. It's easy for people like me that don't know how to cook very well.
Okay. But what was your question about the
I was
Lunchable?
saying, so how do you make that? How do you make that style? Like, how do you choose out? Like, when you go to a pizza place,
Oh
what's
yeah.
what's the first
So,
thing you're analyzing here? When you take that bite into that slice, are you a
right.
crust man? You cheese bro? What are you, dude?
So really it's all aspects. But for sure now, like even though I don't post that many reviews, every time I travel, like I went to LA for a conference 2 months ago. Then I made sure to hit up like 4 spots in LA. Then made a little blog post about reviewing each place. So I've done it a few times, and now I agree that the more you do it yourself, and the more you're kind of seeing the work of your fellow craftspeople, it's crazy like the amount of skill, even in just the Instagram pizza community. Some people were like these home bakers, and they're making pies that are like way above restaurant level that what you like commonly encounter. So so now I think what I look at is it has to suit the style, you know. So I won't judge a New York pie based on Neapolitan criteria and vice versa. So New York, like a Neapolitan pie should be soft, chewy, should have a nice little leoparding, which is the kind of charring that you get all around the crust. It should be soft, and when you cut it, it should droop a bit. That's okay. The sauce should be just fresh San Marzano tomatoes. That's a region in Italy. A bit of salt, a bit of basil. You know, very simple. Fresh mozzarella. That's it. Versus your New York, which you expect to be like if you were in New York, walking around in busy New York street just during your lunch break, you want your whole slice to be able to hold by itself, to not like fall on the ground. So that's why the New York style is a bit more crispy, probably, and it's baked at a lower temperature. So that's why it's like, you know, comparing apples to oranges, but I still have my kind of inner criteria for when I'm looking at the New York or the Neapolitan or Detroit style even.
Well,
Like Detroit,
you don't want so much stuff on one slice of pizza where it's like stacked up like a boat or something, but you also don't want so many toppings on there that when you go and take that pizza slice and put it into your mouth, there everything's falling off the side of it. Like the cheese is pouring off the side, it's all dripping onto the plate. Then eventually you got to be a savage and use a fork to clear up the rest of the
oh,
pizza stuff. Like it should all be able to be stable onto a pizza slice, and you don't want to bite into it and then feel like you just bit into glass, like it shatter in your mouth or something. You want that thick kind of soft crustness to it. Like for me, I like a nice little bit of a crusty end piece of a crust. I think
oh, okay.
that's a good spot.
Mm,
But you know, you look like what's interesting about all the pizzaiolos, especially you guys like you, Edgar, Scott,
yeah,
Matt, or Mike, is the fact is when you guys are reviewing a pizza, or you guys are looking at someone else in the pizza community's pictures or something. For someone that doesn't know a whole lot about pizza, they just see it like that looks like an amazing pizza. I mean, it's a great
yeah,
thing, and then you're like looking at it like it's not that good though, because if you actually look at the quality of it, it's picture worthy. It's not food worthy, which I think is a big
yeah,
at one point is a big thing you guys have to also keep into account. You're going to
mm,
make a pizza and then you're going to be like, this is going to be good for a picture. I can make it look nice. I can do
yeah,
whatever that Pizza Hut does in their ads or commercials to make it look nice.
yeah.
Put like glue on the crust or something. But
Mm.
when it comes to how it's going to taste, I feel like you guys are very self-critical about yourselves, even though it's better than a lot of what we're getting sold today in the industry. It seems like now we're perfectly fine with just reheating something.
Yeah, no, I think it's also the talent has grown just because of probably the past 20 years too, because of the internet, everything, globalization. So now a hobby that used to be very niche now is like practiced by so many people. And also one of the revolutions, if you will, in the pizza world is that before a home oven to cook at like 900 Fahrenheit to make a good Neapolitan pizza, it used to cost like 20 grand, and you had to have a backyard, so if you live in the city and you can't burn wood, like forget it. But nowadays some companies are making some for like 300, 400 bucks. They're either like pretty versatile with gas, with charcoal, with wood pellets. Like that really changed the game, I think. Because now a lot of people, okay, for Father's Day, let's say they got their dad like an oven, pizza oven, and then it starts becoming the family thing. And then there's a lot of dads on Instagram and on Facebook for pizza that are like, okay, this is my weekly pizza night now with the family. And they're showing, and you kind of see people's progress. And progress happens like pretty fast, pretty gradually, but pretty fast over the first 6 months when somebody's starting out. So yeah, I think that made a difference.
When it comes to like, you're looking through the pizza community, how often do you come across someone that's really, really high and almighty about their pizza? Like, I've only been in a little bit too, like talking with Mike, and I follow them and
Yeah,
everything, and then when I'm looking through, like, I'll see people that are just so self-critical, and it's like, well, like, I don't understand. Isn't this pizza? We're supposed to do it with passion and love, not really focus on like picking out
yeah,
each other's flaws or something. Like, I don't think that'll work. Oh, I don't think this will do that. I'm like, well, if it's pizza, like, I guarantee to you, you hand that to anybody, they're going to eat it.
yeah. I think there's maybe a hierarchical way of seeing it. Like I think the worst you can do is like criticizing others, which thankfully Instagram, I think just because of the nature of like sharing a photo, you can't share like a post, you can't share this political thing. So it's really just photos of food. Well, naturally, it just kind of cheers people up. You're not going to write negative stuff. You're not going to bash someone else's pizza. They'll just remove the comment, remove you, and move on. Then after that, you have self-criticism, which I think to a degree, it's a bit of a personal thing. Some people are maybe overly critique themselves. And then some other people are just, happy to make some pies and feed some pies to friends. And also some people are showing their failures too, showing their burnt pies once in a while. And like, hey, stuff like that happens.
Honestly, I'd kill a burnt pizza, dude. I don't. I always look at, like, I've had experiences where, like, like, I've gone snowboarding, and near my
Yeah.
hotel there was a pizza place, and the guy like burnt the crap out of this pizza slice, and he felt so bad about it. He's like, "I'm so sorry, I made you wait like 35 minutes for this pizza, and I burnt it. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna make you another one, please." All this type of stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm
Yeah.
gonna sit here and eat this. So I sat there and I ate it with them, only because, like, it's, who cares, man? Like, when someone is that passionate about something to the point
Yeah.
where they're basically coming up to me and apologizing, and they feel really bad, like if they like lost a
Yeah.
loved one, they're at tears to the eyes or something, I'm
Yeah.
like, let's sit and enjoy this pizza slice, bro. Because honestly, I think that one, even though it might look bad, like, I've seen some pizzas that, like, the
Mm.
cheese is like black, and you're like, holy shit. But then you bite into it, like, it's actually pretty good. It's just that outer surface part, like finding a diamond in the rough.
Well, no, I'd say for myself, I'm more of the opinion that I've seen that line, the line between charred and like nice leoparding versus like burnt. And I remember I was in New Haven and I was trying out this pie that was at a famous place, and I tried it before. The first time was amazing. So it was this lobster pie, and I really splurged. Okay, it was like 40 bucks for a pizza, a bit way over the top, but it was like fantastic, one of the best I've ever had. And then I go back a week after, have the same thing, and that time it's burned. So I asked the guy, like, I paid 40 bucks. Maybe it's usually for them to make it, it'll be like 10 bucks. So it's just a matter of just baking another one. But then the guy was arguing like, oh no, this is like, you just don't know what good pizza is. And then I'm like, oh, well, I know what a char is. And then it's too burned. So, but again, that's maybe my personal taste. But what I do for myself is if I burn a pie, I won't necessarily feed it to my friends or feed it to people, but I'll feed it to myself. I won't waste good ingredients that are on the toppings. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of remove, usually it's the outside, the outer cornicione that's burnt. And often if the underside is not that bad, toppings are fine, I'll eat it for myself.
How do you feel about the wastefulness of ingredients when it comes to making pizza? Like, it seems like a lot of places, like pizza joints, restaurants, they do a pizza. Obviously, you get to take some home if you work there. I know buddies that work in like
Yeah.
fast food or work at these pizza joints. They always talk about bringing home pizza or something for dinner and heating it up or eating it cold the
Yeah.
next day. But I look at like, do you think that all these giant corporations that might throw out all these ingredients, do you think there's a way of possibly donating a lot of these things to like
Mm,
homeless shelters or good corporations, like starting a benefit? Like if you're going
yeah.
to throw that pizza out, might as well feed somebody with it. I mean, if somebody tells you this food is past expiration date, they
Yeah.
legally have to throw it out. But could you get
Mm,
a waiver sign saying if it's a day past expiration date and it's never been opened, do you think that's going to make somebody sick? It's like the person's already starving to death
yeah.
as it
That's
is.
interesting.
Why throw it away?
That's interesting. I think unofficially, I think a lot of pizza stores are kind of more independent artisans. I think are doing that. I think are, offering, okay, we've done these many pies, still got some dough. Let's just go and feed the homeless in LA. Like, so I've seen a few pizza places do that. I'm not sure it's as a routine, but I've seen it been done for sure. Now with a waiver, I think that's a good idea. It's interesting. I
I
think if
just
it's
look
one
at
day,
because I mean, you're really trying to feed the public. I mean, if you're getting into the pizza business, you're not super getting into it for the money aspect. You're getting into it out of
no.
the enjoyment. You're getting into it out of
Yeah.
watching somebody's face light up. I mean, what when you first made a pizza for somebody, what was
Mhm.
that experience like? Like it had to be an amazing feeling watching somebody tear open a slice of your pizza.
Yeah. So that's a, I don't, it's interesting. I don't remember the first time, but now I'm really enjoying the past like 3 months since we're all stuck at home and can't really go out, and that I've been enjoying delivering pizzas to my close friends and friends who work at the hospital, and for them just to see, to see the smile it brings on their face, to see how excited they are. um, I try to experiment, try to make them learn about pizza and try to show them these new fancy ingredients, or just even the classics. Or just one of my friends is like, man, I really want, he asked me for mucho toppings. I'm like, okay, you want mucho toppings? I'll do it. I'll
How
go all
many's
out.
how many's mucho are we talking about here?
So I did go mucho, but it was like, I think they were well paired together. So the flavors came together well, but it was still pretty thick. But I did it on a Sicilian dough. So it's like a bit of like a focaccia kind of dough. If you can imagine, it's a bit airy, but a bit thicker. So it can support it, but you won't have like 5 slices of the thing. You'll have like one slice and that's your lunch almost.
And when it comes to the craziest combinations you've ever been, have you ever been asked something crazy or have you ever seen a crazy combination for a pizza? Like, for instance, I came across
Oh
a
man.
pizza and I told Mike about this, and Mike
Yeah.
sticks by it. So, Mike, if you're listening, I'm letting you know I'm giving you crap on this one.
I hope he's
Nutella,
gonna listen. Yeah.
Nutella on pizza. You can't do that. I see that as that's too much.
So I listened to the show when you were talking about that combo, and I've actually done that. I've done the Nutella banana. Lieutenant banana, and I've done a smiley face with the two bananas as eyes, and then other slices as the smiling face.
That's creative, but I don't think that's
Yeah,
right at all. I'm sorry. Just I
and then
that
powdered sugar. You add powdered sugar on top.
Oh my God. Come on, man. What is this? Are we
Ah,
making a pizza funnel cake here? What are we doing?
visually, it's cool too. Visually, it's cool with the little like
I
it's
feel
like
like
no.
that's a lot about what it is, though. It's a very appealing. I've come across pizzas that I'm like, I'm not going to bite into that because it looks like death. But then are some that out there, like you see the craziest combination, especially with Instagram. You notice,
Yeah,
doing the social media on that, it's all about the picture. Nobody gives a shit about the taste because they can't
yeah,
taste it. You can make a really crappy pizza, but if it looks good, that's
yeah,
you just want people to get that double tap, and then that's when you start getting your following up and everything. And I
yeah.
think
Right.
it's a really, really different. We see people like that are pizza bloggers, Pizzaiolos, home Pizzaiolos like yourself.
Yeah,
It's a way to bring the people in. And like with Mike, where he teaches classes, or Edgar, he's trying to show people how to make stuff online. Like it's all about also making it pretty applicable to other people that want to try it themselves. I mean, you're talking to a wide variety of people that are following you that
yeah,
don't that can't make their own slice at home.
yeah. No, that's a good point. So what I've been doing recently is that I've had a few, like flour has been sold out of stores like everywhere. Yeast has been sold out. But there are a few of my friends who managed to get their hands on like this huge jumbo bag of flour and a bit of yeast. And they're like, hey, I want to get into making bread. I wanted to get into sourdough. I wanted to get into this. And for sure, I think I've been I've been adapting my teaching for my pals, because I have this one part of me that's like going all out OCD on like, okay, all the minutia with all my scales and everything, and okay, increase fermentation time, the temperature, playing around with all these variables, which is super fun, but it's a bit, kind of for the pizza nerds, it's perfect. But for my friends who just, I don't want to overwhelm, and I would just want them to enjoy like the first homemade pizza. I've been kind of adapting and trying to find recipes that are okay. Go with this source, try this guy's recipe, it'll go pretty well. And sometimes it's been about giving tips to improve the bake. Just improving the bake can make a difference. So, for example, if you're making this one method called the skillet broiler method, that's been on SeriousEats.com. They've had a few good, like really good beginner recipes. So, skillet broiler is to kind of replicate the kind of high temperatures you get in a 900 Fahrenheit degree oven, but just with your home ovens, to make a Neapolitan pizza that has a bit of char, but without having any fancy tools. So you kind of make your base on the skillet on on your stove top, and then you chuck it under the broiler for like 40 seconds at high. So that way your base gets done, and then your top gets charred. But it's not as great as having your own home oven that's made for making Neapolitan pizza, but it's been working well. And for New York pies, the other thing I recommend is just either just a basic pizza stone that you preheat. So that's one thing. People just put their pizza on there and the stone's not preheated. So it's actually going to almost absorb all the heat from the oven as you're baking the pie. You want it to be already preheated, maybe ideally with the temperature gun, you kind of check, or just like 20 minutes after it still reached the temperature, then okay, it's probably at that temperature, like 500 Fahrenheit, the highest your oven could go. And then you put your pie on there. So just that really improves pies. Because what I've been seeing a lot too with, there's a difference. I find the masters really in the craft are the people who are both like chefs and bakers. But for most people will either be like super good at baking or super good as chefs. And the issue sometimes with people who are super good as chefs but don't understand bread as much and fermentation and everything is that the toppings will look amazing. And like a lot of on these like home cooking recipe magazines, you'll see this. You'll see a pizza, wow, it looks fantastic. And you see that rim of crust. It's like white. It's like not even barely cooked, barely cooked, no char, and no, it's kind of flat.
Like
So
a,
it means
like a
it's
raw,
probably
like a raw dough.
almost raw, or just kind of very bland. Usually it's recipes for people at home will be geared for people who want pizza like fast. People who are like arrive at 5 p.m. at home, like, hey, I want pizza tonight and I want to make it. But just being able to schedule in advance, telling yourself, okay, I feel like tomorrow I'll want pizza, or after tomorrow I'll want pizza. Making your dough in advance for flavor development, that's where you get the high yield gains, I think.
You mentioned like bakers and chefs that kind of have this extra boost of knowledge when it comes to
Yeah.
making a great slice of pizza. I have a feeling that you said you were a physician by day, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That has to go into pizza making a little bit too, just being
Yeah.
able to understand kind of the structure of things too. I mean, not
Yeah.
maybe the physical aspect of what a human body's like, but also the components of what goes into a structure of a good quality pizza as well.
Yeah. I think so. I do. So yeah, so I did my medical degree, and then I'm doing my subspecialty training right now, and I do a bit of research too. And I find it's the research, especially, that's helped me in understanding how you want to have a bit of a controlled environment. Although, of course, with sourdough, for example, sourdough is uncontrolled. It's a bit of a living organism, so it's a bit more intricate. But it's still, when you can control and kind of tweak variables one by one, that's kind of how you know that, okay, well, this recipe, this is why it's working. Because when I tried tweaking this particular variable that was, I don't know, just the temperature, just the bake, the this or that, and to know at which steps, to have kind of milestones of, okay, when I know that, have criteria, for example, oh, when my dough has has a nice little bubble there, or when I look in the glass and it looks like it has a bunch of bubbles, it's probably the good time. So have a bunch of criteria you can use so that, okay, I'm at the right step. Now that means I can, to have a bit more method. But I'm still not going as OCD as some people who are, I don't know, are chemistry based and have excellent understanding of gluten because it's still my hobby. So I want to go OCD, but not to the point that I lose the fun out of it.
Yeah, you want to make it more of like a passion thing and more of like if it one you know, you do have a batch that ends up being bad, it's still fun. It was fun doing the process of it. I feel like
Yeah,
eventually it becomes so much like a business. You learn so much about it where it's like, oh man, I forgot to preheat the oven to 800 degrees. I forgot to do this. I
yeah,
forgot to do that. It's like, dude, you're not even having fun with it anymore. Like I
yeah,
watched that in Mike's live video. There were people commenting like, if you do this, your pizza's going to be terrible. The pizza's going to be, and just commenting. I'm like, you're supposed to have fun with this. This is supposed to be an
yeah.
enjoyment. Like you're trying a new venture. You're trying a Chick-fil-A pizza. It's going to be different. It's going to be unlike what anybody's seen before. So any input's just ridiculous. But that's the fun of the craft. I'm pretty sure you probably have your own routine when you come home. Like when you're coming home to make a pizza, let's say
Yeah.
either one that you're making for yourself is probably going to be different than you're making an order. So when you're making
Mhm.
an order, how do you typically try and structure it out? Do you play any smooth jazz?
Oh,
Do you do anything like get the mood set? Because like when I'm in the kitchen, I don't
yeah.
want anybody in there. But I like to have like a podcast playing in my ear or something. I like to have
Mhm.
like where I could, if I want to dance in the kitchen, I could dance in the kitchen.
I think the setup is definitely it's definitely important to be in the kind of in the zone. Like same thing for people in sports, and definitely when you're practicing pizza as a craft. For me, my zone is when I don my apron. I've got my apron on. I've got all. I like having everything set up, everything prepared. So I've had a few times with making pizza where it's a bit more improv, and then you're getting confused, and then you forgot this in the oven, you forgot this in the stove, and then it gets a bit too crazy. But when all your prep is done, I feel kind of relaxes me. So let's say when all my I've got these little containers, either stainless or just ceramic containers with my sauce already there, my different cheeses, different toppings. And then from there, that's when I improvise. That's the fun part of improvising. So when it's already laid out there, you can kind of see the ingredient options you have. And then you try some combos you maybe wouldn't have thought of. So you try adding this, and then, this extra layer of this could, maybe be a good complement. So to start with a few things. Okay, do I want a white base? So just olive oil and a cheese, or do I want a red base with the red sauce, San Marzano sauce? So I think definitely the setting and the zone. I've been listening to music sometimes, but just I don't have like a pizza playlist yet.
You got to make a pizza playlist, dude. You got to have something on there. You got to have some Katy Perry's Firework. Are you telling me that's an emotional pizza? You talked about a banana or a Nutella pizza with a banana smiley face. That's
Yeah.
one that'll have tears on that bad boy. When you start playing Katy Perry's Firework, I get emotional when I hear that thing.
Oh my. And there's actually one pizza song that Edgar made me listen to. That's it's horrendously bad, but also horrendously good. In that it's like, as a pizza guy, you just appreciate it. It's just funny. There's this heavy metal song called like "I Want Pizza" or something, and the guy, it's a bit like almost psychedelic. You've got all these pizzas floating around in the sky everywhere, and the guy's just yelling that he wants pizza and the oozy cheese and the thick crust.
Tripping through the pepperoni galaxy, I'd call it.
Yeah, that's the song.
No, I just made that up.
Okay.
It was a good one. It sounded like a funk album, didn't
Yeah,
it? Tripping through the pepperoni galaxy.
it sounded like an album more than a song. Yeah, like the whole theme of the album.
Just got pizza floating through space. That's a good thing too. I like about it. If you ever look at a graphic artist and they have a design on pizza, it's something always crazy or ridiculous, like trippy. It's like the drips of the cheese in space or something. I'm like, this is amazing that like there's
Holy
this one
man.
food that we all connect on. Like it's
Yeah.
like hot dogs, burgers are pretty popular, but pizza's like anywhere you go, you ask somebody, what's your favorite slice of pizza? They're immediately like, cheese, pepperoni, meat lovers, whatever. They all have this thing and this connection to something, which I think is important,
Yeah.
especially people like you that cook this thing. You're giving
Yeah.
a lot of enjoyment to a lot of people. I'm pretty sure you've
Yeah.
seen that from delivering these pizzas. I mean, especially
Yeah.
with the COVID situation, you've delivered pizzas to Dan.
Yeah.
who's going to be a future guest on the podcast. You see his face light up like, holy shit, I just got my own personal pizza. He would have probably eaten an apple, or he would have eaten
Yeah.
maybe not a healthy option, but he would have found something like a Snickers bar or something to eat, because that's all he can get. He's not able to leave. He's not able to get anything
Yeah.
besides the store there, or the little break room, but you're feeding
Yeah.
him his own personal pizza. So he gets enjoyment out of something he's dealing with every day that might be super tasky.
Yeah. No, it feels super fulfilling because even though, so I'm actually working in medicine, but where I'm training, I'm more in the laboratory side of things, so in pathology. So I don't feel as involved in the fight against coronavirus. So it's kind of my way to help, because I see my friend he's risking his life while I'm, in my office there with my microscope. So it's a good exchange. I get to feel good. He gets to have a great pie. And he often, he'll make some requests. Oh, can you try this topping? Can you try this thing? So it allows me to experiment too. But I've seen pictures of the food he's having in the cafeteria, and I felt bad. And I've been seeing the options there with, your kind of the microwave mashed potatoes and the
Yeah.
little green beans there.
Yeah, so you look at it, you're like, all right, now you need some real food. If you're
All
going to be
right, you need
fighting this
something.
deadly virus, we don't want anything that's going to hurt your immune system anymore.
Yeah, yeah, strengthen it up with some good,
Good
good
old
old.
oregano on the crust, let me tell you.
So Robbie, that's interesting when you're talking about how people conceive of pizza as unhealthy. But I think for a lot of things, like once you start making stuff yourself with quality ingredients, no preservatives, everything fresh, and not like over the top toppings that you're eating in moderation, you're not like eating like 3 pies. Pizza can be pretty healthy, honestly.
I know a bunch of bodybuilders. See, I'm a big fitness freak, so I dive
Okay.
down that rabbit hole of studying nutrition,
Yeah.
studying muscular structure of all these types of things. It's
Yeah,
actually something
sure.
I got super passionate about, because I wanted
Cool.
to know, since I was interested in it, I want to know as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
So when I started noticing like all these people that are doing this farm to table act, or doing like growing your
Yeah.
fresh ingredients and stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's perfectly fine to eat these things that we consider, I mean, stereotypical pizza. At least if you're going to a restaurant or something, it's pretty bad for you, only because of the quality ingredients that a lot of places are using are stuff that's bought from a store. It's very, very greasy, very, very soaked with a lot of things that aren't very healthy. But there are pizza joints now that I think it's becoming a big increase, which is, I'm hoping you've probably noticed, is that all
Oh yeah.
these people are looking at their food a little bit closer. They're like, this pool of grease is not going to be good for me later down the road. Like using fresh tomatoes, making your
Yeah.
own sauce that way. These types of things, you're getting all the essential ingredients, and you don't have to eat it like separate, like diced up on the side. Like, I got to eat this
Yeah.
chopped up tomatoes and then these green beans. No, you can have that on a pizza and make it really, really good. And it
Yeah.
still gets your servings of your vegetables and grains and all that.
Yeah. I try to compromise it the best. So I've been playing around with my dough, for example. I've been playing around with flour. So I try to always have about 10 to 20% of the flour weight will be weight in whole wheat flour. Because that's, I think, another issue is that it's a bit tricky to go 100% healthy and to go 100% whole wheat, or even gluten-free dough is super difficult, and
Yeah,
it's
you'd end
really
up
tough
binge
to get
eating
good results.
if you went 100% clean. You'd end up binge eating.
Pardon me?
I said if you went 100% clean, like if you were like, I'm going off junk food, I'm going on a healthy
Yeah.
kale diet or something, you will binge eat after like a couple days.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta give yourself a little treat. I think you can't go over the top, because I think the thing with diets is people just bounce back.
I
But
think that's,
uh,
well, that's also what's hard about making pizza in general too. Like now you guys are, everyone's adopting this healthy lifestyle of, we like to see bad food. And by bad, I mean really, really stuff that's not good for our systems, but it looks freaking amazing, like a double chocolate pizza or something.
yeah,
But we like seeing that, but we don't want to eat it ourselves. We're more about this healthy lifestyle. Like I know people that are making quiches based on different types of pizza styles, or trying to incorporate it in
yeah,
that way. And I look at it and I'm like, we're all looking for healthy options of food, which is why vegan's becoming super, super popular. People think
yeah,
all vegetables work. And I'm like, it's got to put a giant task on you as like first of all, a seller as well, because you're trying
uh-huh,
to, hop into this pizza lifestyle. And now they're telling you, oh, we have to shift gears because society's changing in a way.
yeah. I think pizza at least is pretty. It's not like a rotisserie chicken place where you're just not going to come up with a vegan option there. At least with pizza, even with Neapolitan style especially, it's pretty easy to do just vegan. If you start having some vegan cheese, then you're all set. But I see what you mean too. You were talking on with Edgard about how it can feel a bit disingenuous if you see these stores are adopting all these gluten-free and all these vegan approaches, but they're really just doing it to satisfy customers rather than actually because they believe in it, because they've fine-tuned it. So often the vegan option or the vegetarian option won't be as elaborate or as appealing. But I think that's changing with the artisan pizza places. That's different. I think
Yeah,
they're way in advance for that.
I think especially when COVID is kind of dying down and places like restaurants are going to be open to having people at least inside again, not just doing
Yeah,
delivery. I know delivery services everyone's starting to buy locally, which was very good. So a lot
yeah,
of these giant corporations kind of were like shutting their doors a little bit. But
hmm,
you get to see a different side. I think this is a more creative side of people that has really awakened with all of this going on. You saw so
yeah,
many people starting their own business ventures at home, people that are
yeah.
even buying their own pizza ovens to even create these things. I see it as a benefit in that factor that I think when we do open back up, a lot of people are going to have some new life choices, some new life decisions made, but also have a passion that they want to chase down, much like yourself. I mean, you'll probably see once this opens back up, you'll be getting business orders even more, only because people want to experience what that good food is. I think it's going to shock our taste buds when we
Hmm.
go and try and eat that normal food that we considered normal for so long. We're like, whoa, 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 whoa. This doesn't taste anything like I was eating
Right.
before. Before I was eating like a king.
No, it's super interesting the shift towards kind of away from globalization and more towards local. That's really been heightened, like for sure. I've had a few friends who make sourdough bread and in Montreal and they deliver, and their business has really the little local business has really boomed just because people are interested in having that connection to kind of farm to table or artisan work and
Well,
appreciative of like, okay, well, this guy is like biking over to deliver a bread he made like yesterday, and an art he spent perfecting for like 3 years.
It's
People
it's
are
it's what I've
admiring
always
that.
talked about in this podcast from the very, very beginning. I always talked about that deep human care to want to help one another and want to do our part
Yeah,
and connect with somebody. It's the same thing. We were thinking globally for too long, and then what happened was we watched people closest to us, our neighbors, our local businesses, severely get hurt and saw the tragedy that they were going through. We pulled ourselves out of this kind of sleep mindset and started to care and buy locally. And I think it's not going to last, sadly. I think it's the same thing you experience after a terroristic attack is when everyone comes together for that a couple months or something. We're going to have new ways of living when this all goes back for a couple months, but we'll fall back right into our old way. And I think the most important thing to avoid that is to understand and stay connected with the people that are around us, whether it's people down the street from me or whether it's you and me connecting from different countries. It's important to find
yeah.
that humanness in there.
Oh yeah. So you've been buying some local stuff recently?
Yeah, I've been going to local farmers markets that open up. It's a kind of a pain in the ass only because they make you do so much to be able to look at the food in the first place, like
Yeah.
mask, hand sanitizer. It feels like you have to take 30 showers and an acid bath before you're able to get your groceries. But I think
Before
it's
and after.
I think it's important too. And
Yeah.
one of my local grocery stores, what they did was they started buying local produce and selling it into their grocery store. So they were trying to help out at least some of these community sellers. Because I mean, I'm the type of guy. If I come across you selling strawberries on a freeway, I'm buying some strawberries on a freeway.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you see the family there with the kids there, walking outside and they're under the little tent, and for sure you're like, okay, I want to.
Or it just looks like a trusted guy selling strawberries. I'll buy if you're
Yeah.
selling strawberries on the side of the road. If it's a good price, I'm buying some strawberries.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a rule I live by. It's a code of ethics in my book.
There were no middle people involved, so you feel like you're contributing directly. It's fun.
Yeah, especially
You're getting fresh as you can.
you ever like when you're doing your ingredients, do you buy a lot of your stuff or do you try and find a lot of it, like maybe grow some fresh vegetables like tomatoes or something?
Yeah, so I'm in the city here. So I live in downtown Montreal, and it's fun because with our building, there's maybe like 20 apartments in the building, and there's a garden. We have a little like building garden outside in the parking lot. So we have all of my fine fresh herbs come from there. But don't really have space to grow my own veggies and stuff yet. Um, I try to buy the most local options I can. Local options, let's say, to even when I'm making Neapolitan style and it calls for this particular Italian ingredient. Well, often there's kind of a local Canadian grown version of it. So for example, for flour, I started shifting away from 00 flour, which is supposed to be like the holy grail of flour, but it's very processed. It's bleached, so it gets very white. It's very fine. It's a nice texture. But I found a local, organic, unbleached flour that's been giving me great results so far. So I've been trying to find these alternatives, trying to buy less imported things from Italy that, of course, have to come by plane or by boat and involve a lot of emissions rather than just trying to, or make it yourself. Like I've been pickling my own jalapenos, pickling my own, make red onions, for example, caramelizing my own onions. That way you get it even fresher, and you have the skill to do it anytime instead of having to run to the store to buy the canned version.
Now, if I was going to ask you, what do you see in the future with what you're doing? You ever thought about writing your own book? I mean, a physician
Yeah.
that's also a pizzaiolo. Come on, you could literally say physics is pizza, or
Yeah.
physics is easy as pizza. Do something like that. Like I'm already picturing front
Yeah.
cover deals. I'm picturing your face like on the front with like the nice thinking pose, like how you
Yeah. That's a good one. That's interesting because I haven't gotten to, because it's always a trade. Everything you do in life is a trade-off. And right now, the utilitarian mindset I'm using is that since I'm in training, I'm training to be a subspecialist and to learn my subspecialty well. Well, I can contribute to more people in a more meaningful way, which is health, than my pizza, unfortunately or unfortunately. So it's kind of a trade-off that I'm keeping it as a hobby, feeding my friends, but to make it grow as a business would mean like letting go of patient care or to a certain degree, or letting go of clinical skills. So that's the trade-off I'm doing. But versus writing a book would be a great option, for example, because that's scalable, something that's there. It's kind of a legacy, and it's kind of super fun. So that'd be more of an option than doing delivery myself, or that's a lot. Yeah.
physician by day, pizzaiolo by night.
Oh, there you go. You found the title.
I am a man of many talents, and one
Yeah, I
happens
see
to be
that.
advertising.
Yeah, but I think that'd be a good way to sell it. Yeah, just to show kind of how you can be busy but still make great pizza and
I only have two things to say.
your family.
Actually, I got three things to say. One, how soft are your hands? That's what I choose when it comes to a physician. I want to know how soft your hands are.
Yeah.
Two is, do you like oregano on your pizza?
Okay.
And three is, do you like ketchup on your eggs?
All right. I've got my answer for those. So
All right.
first, I don't see patients, right? I diagnose cancer under the microscope or other inflammatory conditions. So let's say you go to a surgeon and they're taking out a cancer, they're taking out a lesion in the colon, and anywhere in the skin, a skin biopsy. I'll be reading that under the microscope. So that's what I'm training to be able to do independently in the future. So I don't see patients, but I do help patients just indirectly. So it's less of a. I don't get gifts from patients who are like, oh, thank you so much for being our doctor. It's more of a, you kind of more get the gratitude from
You're
within,
you're
from
like
help.
the roadie working in the back wings, like the ones that do a lot of the work but don't get the full on personal interaction.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're consultants to physicians. So physicians will be, I think this is this diagnosis. What is it? Let's have a biopsy. Then we give out the answer of what we think it is or what it could be in the potential. So then question two would be also the soft hands. Yeah, I guess my hands are soft because just on the
Moisturize.
microscope, not working too manual.
You moisturize, just say it. It's okay.
Yeah, I do. I do, man. I do. Of course.
I need to, because listen, ready?
Moisturize, sunscreen. Got to do it.
I don't like lotion on my hands because the one time I tried to grab a doorknob, and after I put lotion on and I spun,
Yeah,
and it was one of those where you're walking and you're trying to open it as you're walking, and I
yeah.
did it and slammed headfirst into the door. So I was like, nope.
So since that traumatic experience, no longer.
Also, fork in the toaster. I don't use toasters anymore.
Oh yeah. Fork in the
I learned
electrical
hard,
outlet.
bro.
Bad idea.
That one sucks, dude. That's why my parents bought the plugs for the outlet, so you can't
Yeah, the
do
kid
that when I
plugs.
was little. Yeah, I'll still do it now if I see an outlet.
Then you were asking about what was it?
Oregano on the crust.
I should try that. What was it? Was it like just dried oregano that's kind of sprinkled on the crust or
You can
inside
cook it
like
into the crust. I just know Domino's, they apply it pretty thick onto the pizza crust. And
okay.
whenever I have oregano, it immediately I think Domino's. I mean, I eat
Ah,
salads every meal basically.
yeah,
So I'll
yeah.
just dump oregano on my salad. And I swear I'm eating Domino's pizza. It's like when you figure out if you put cumin on anything, making a
Yeah.
taco pizza, that's what makes it taste like taco meat from Taco Bell is the cumin from it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you start having a like certain flavors or flavor profiles are associated with one particular meal or one
Certain
particular item.
memories, man.
Certain
That's what I'm
memory.
talking about.
I agree. But then eggs on ketchup on eggs.
Think deep on this one because this is a big one.
I do even better, my friend. I do sriracha or hot sauce on
Hot
eggs.
sauce is fine on eggs. I want to know, do you like ketchup on your eggs? Because I think that's a psychopath if you put ketchup on your eggs. Mike gives me crap about it, but I still think hot sauce is fine on eggs. Ketchup, my dad does it, and he's not exactly mentally sane.
So I come from a family where my mom puts ketchup on her broccoli.
That's not bad. I've done that.
You've done that? Okay.
I put ketchup on my salad. I like to think like I went to a restaurant one time and they didn't have
Yeah,
any dressings for your salad. So I was
sure.
like, okay, I'll just take this. And I took the ketchup and squeeze it on there. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's tomatoes, right? Just a little bit of sugar in there. Like, that's true.
And then they were like, they tried it out and they put it on the menu.
I hope so. I mean, maybe that's my little secret menu item, but it was good. And I still do
Yeah.
it today.
For your next cookbook, you've got so many pizzaiolos coming on here that you're going to be able to glean some recipes there.
Yeah, you gave me the compliment Pizzaiolo reviewer or interviewer. I was like, oh my, I feel
Yeah,
special. I like having you guys on. It's cool because
yeah, thanks, man.
I think what's important is that there's these great group of people like you, Mike, Edgar, Scott, that are all trying to do something you guys really love to do, and to see you guys all communicate together too. To be a part of that's awesome. I just think it's
Yeah,
crazy to see that you guys are so passionate for about something and to see that grow. And I think that's like that with
yeah.
a lot of these communities.
Yeah, I remember like when I joined Instagram and I've been on there for a few months, starting to grow my profile, starting to experiment, starting to improve my skills. And then I think it was like all the same day, Edgar and Mike were like, "Hey man, love your stuff. Oh, check out my pies and let's help out each other." And then just from there, it's been started. Like I think I've seen every single pizza they make or they post. They've seen every single of my pizzas. Kind of tag each other, make sure we don't forget, and we get to see it. And we try out each other's recipes. So that way, you're just growing and you're improving like way more. Like whenever I want tips on for Neapolitan style, I'm going to Edgar for sure. Now Mike is really nailing the New York and New Jersey style. He's doing it really well. Got a friends in the UK that are doing Neapolitan and Detroit. So you start to know like who are the resources too. Like okay, I've seen this guy. It's for inspiration. Oh, I've seen this guy. He's making these homemade pickled jalapenos. Guy in Brooklyn, Sean New York slices. Okay, well, what's your recipe? Do you mind sharing? Just because it's like a small niche community, people are super friendly and want to share their tips.
Looks like I got a few more people I got to get on the podcast.
Oh yeah, can give you some names.
Well, hey, Simon, thanks so much for doing the podcast, man. I want to give you here a minute at the end to be able to promote your content, promote your Instagram page, promote where
Yeah,
people can see this physician of the pizza craft. That's a movie deal. Let's go get Ben Stiller in it.
yeah. Hopefully, hopefully, a great actor. That would be awesome. Yeah. So my name is Simon Roy. If you want to follow my pizzas, it's Dr. Neapolitan. So like Napoli and Naples, but it's Nia, not Neo, Neapolitan. And feel free to hit me up, ask me for tips for recipes on how to do a New York, a Detroit, Neapolitan style, and how to get started, and how to help you out, how to choose your ingredients. So I'm there to help out the crew.
Well, I'm going to end it on a really cheesy catchphrase, no pun intended, but it's as easy as pie.